Hey there, Trekkies. My name is Michael, aka the TrekLad, and welcome to the first Let's Talk About Discovery, Season 3. My word, the year is 3188. I know, I'm wearing things quite well considering the time jump. Wow, how are you all doing? Hope you're doing well. Hello to everybody in the chat. I will come and say hello to all of you wonderful people in a second. If you're watching this on replay, hello. I hope you're doing well. We've got Discovery again. 18 months of waiting and speculation and wondering what the future would look like, and now we have a better understanding. This week, I am joined by some incredible guests. We are going to break open and crack this episode and understand all that we can about it. A proper kind of water cooler conversation. A little bit different to the Let's Talk About Lower Decks conversations, because there is so much to talk about. These episodes are essentially double the Lower Decks running time. So I have organized things into talking points. I know, I can't believe it. I've actually organized things. Before we do get into that, though, just some plugs. I want to plug some stuff. I am on the mission to get to 500 subs on this channel. I'd love to do that by the end of October, and with your help, I can do that. If you haven't already, please like this live stream, and also please subscribe if you haven't already, and recommend to your other Star Trek friends who may not have come across me. Really want to get to 500 by the end of October. Like I said, I think I'm about 490, which is crazy, and I'd love to do it kind of before the end of the month. It'd be so cool. I've also rejigged and I'm repushing my Patreon, so if you would like to support everything that I'm doing here, the videos, I did a live stream the other day where I was talking about all of the plans, all of the grandiose plan. I have a mission to 2025 which I really want you guys to be part of. If you want to help support that vision, come and support me on Patreon. A pledge of £1 a month gets you access to the Discord server that I have for patrons, and you will also get your name in the credits of these videos, these live streams. Your names will appear. £3 and up gets you early access to podcasts, videos, not live streams because live streams go live, and also exclusive features which I am adding very soon. So if you want to come support, patreon.com/TrekLad and come and take part. Also, if you are watching this and you're going, oh, do you know, I'd really love to be part of these live stream panels, you can. Come on. I'm dropping a link in the chat. I'd love to get as many people involved as I possibly can. I have booked up, I believe, 4 episodes already, which is crazy. So people want to come. They want to be part of these. So if you want to also join and be part of these live streams going forward, get involved. Go to that link and get booked on. I would love to speak with you. Right. Plugs out of the way. Without further ado, let's welcome our guest today. We've got some people here for the first time, which I'm really excited about. So in no particular order, let's welcome back. First of all, the one guy who has he's part of the furniture. I love him to bits. His name is Albert Android. How you doing, Albert? You all right?
Hello. How are you? I'm doing very well. Yes.
Good. I'm pleased.
You still haven't learned your lesson. You keep getting me back. What's going?
I keep bringing you back. I know. I mean, I have a 47 strikes and you're out policy. I'm very lenient, and you know, you're on. I think you're on strike 10, but you've got 37 more strikes. It's all good. Right. Let's also welcome. He's one of my faves. I had him on the podcast recently. He's a sweetheart. I love him, and everybody was saying get him in on your live streams. He is the one, the only Sorcerer Johnny. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Welcome from Tennessee.
All the way from Tennessee, or as you like to call it,
small town USA.
Take a drink every time he says that on the podcast. You will not make it through to the end of it, but it's awesome. Welcome. I would also like to welcome at this time Maurice. How you doing, buddy? You all right?
Not too bad, thank you. How are you?
Very good. It's an absolute honor and pleasure to have you here. Thank you very much for joining. We also have joining us today, we have Oliver. How you doing, Oliver?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
It's an absolute joy in having you. And last but not least, he is the creative genius behind Star Trek VHS covers. I mean, we all love a good VHS cover, and this guy makes sure that we remember how great that art was. His name is Lee Hutchinson. How you doing, Lee?
Yeah, I'm really good. Thanks for having me on for the premiere episode of Discovery Season 3. It feels pretty special.
It is special. You guys are all fantastic, and I'm really, really glad that you can join me for this first episode. Hopefully, the first of many appearances. But before we get in and we dive into the meat of these of this incredible first episode, let's quickly just say hello to some of the people in the chat. So hello to Ian. I hope you're doing well. Just finished it. Can't wait for next week. You and me and all of these gentlemen both. We also have welcoming back our resident superhero Earl Grey Trekkie 1701. Hello to you, sir. We've also welcoming Kit. Hope you're doing well, Kit. Corey as well. Hope you're doing well, Corey. Fun will now commence. One of my favorite names on the internet. We also have Fathery. Hope you're doing well. Yes, damn right you're excited. I'm also excited for your live stream, which is coming up later on today as well. We've also got one of the best animators on YouTube, All Mouse Media. Welcome. Check out All Mouse's predictions for season 3. They animate everything, and it's just incredible. So yeah, some fantastic people in the live chat. Also, Pew Pew, Punch, Raw, Meow. Yes, I love it. I greet you. We greet you too. Welcome one, welcome all. Right. Like I said, we are breaking this down into some different talking points this week and for this series, because I like to organize things within, to the nth degree. So there we go. Overall thoughts. We're going to talk about the future. We're going to talk about Burnham. We're going to talk about Book. We're going to talk about Grudge, which for some reason I called Grunge before we came on, and I had to quickly go and change that. We're going to talk about the Federation. We're going to talk about the USS Discovery. Where is it? And we're going to talk about this season, and then finally leave with ratings within hopefully an hour. So, right, gentlemen, let's go around the room. Overall thoughts for That Hope Is You. Alba, get us started, buddy.
This is where they should have started from day one. This episode was spot on. Absolutely spot on. And who knew Sonequa Martin Green can act? She actually brilliant. Honestly, there's a few issues, but only minor ones from my point of view. But overall, really, really good. I think it's a good start. Will it continue? Well, we'll get onto that a bit later on, I think.
We will see. We will see. Sorcerer, sum up your feelings for this first episode.
I had a smile on my face from beginning to end. I just felt it was a lot of fun, a great new direction for this show, and to go with what Alba said, I turned to my wife during part of it. I said, "Oh my gosh, Sonequa looks like she's having the time of her life doing this episode."
Yeah, she absolutely did, and we will get into Sonequa Martin Green's performance. Lee, overall thoughts for this premiere episode?
Yeah, I was really excited with it. I think it's one of these things. I feel like even though he's been gone from this series nearly 3 years, I think we're finally kind of free of what Brian Fuller kind of envisioned sort of Star Trek Discovery to be, this show sort of set in that kind of period of time. I was listening to an interview today with some of the producers where they were like, "Oh, we've always had it in our head that we will go to the future at some point. We had to do it." And I've always kind of felt that us as fans, the creators, have always had this ambition since kind of Fuller's left of like, we want to cut free, we want to do something different and not to be tied into kind of the past. And with this concept, I've been excited about it since 18 months ago, since it ended, and it kind of delivered in that episode. And I'm excited for the future of Discovery. I mean, we're just chatting, and only about half an hour ago they've announced season 4. I'm hoping it's going to be many more years set in this exciting kind of timeline, and I think we're going to be blessed with a really exciting Star Trek show.
So I didn't actually know that they'd. We knew that season 4 was filming. I didn't know that it had been officially announced. That's going to annoy some YouTubers. Oliver, what were your overall and initial thoughts of this first episode?
Well, I mean, as soon as they announced that season 3 is going to be in the future, I was excited because that's what it should have been all along. As soon as the episode came, I found it exciting, entertaining, fun. It raised questions. I wanted to know more about the universe and the world there. And I think the biggest factor is I was desperate to see episode 2. And I think that's the hallmark of how good and fun episode it was. Whereas sometimes in other Discovery seasons, I was just like, okay, that's done for a week. But this time I was just like, give me episode 2 now.
It did remind me a lot of some of those classic episodes where you get to the end of it and you're like, oh, is that hour up already? Oh, man, I really want more. So, I absolutely get that. Maurice, round us off. Thoughts on this episode, buddy?
I loved it so much. I think it was such a great opener to a new chapter of Discovery, because now they're not sort of tied back by, the new trackers and things like that. I thought it was great. Loved it. Can't wait for episode 2.
Absolutely. Well, almost unanimous, pretty much across the board. I think we all enjoyed it. I mean, I think that Albie, you said that you had some issues with the episode. I had some issues with the episode, and we'll get into some of those later on. We'd like to talk about the positives as much as we possibly can here, but then we'll talk later on about maybe some of the things that we could have changed. So let's get into this. Right, the year is 3188. That's quite a jump, even by Star Trek standards. We've jumped over a lot of stuff. So with that in mind, let's talk about the future. Let's talk about the future that we are now in. Some beautiful Andorians. So who wants to get us started on this segment? What are our thoughts, our first impressions of 3188?
I think
I mean,
it was an sorry.
Oh, no, go on, Lee.
I think it's an interesting kind of premise because I know obviously we've had an 18-month kind of period of waiting to find out, right, what is the future of Discovery and what is going to be this future that we go into. And I've been sitting there thinking, like, I would love to, before I'd even watched episode 1, be reading the Michael Okuda, Denise Okuda encyclopedia of what's gone on since we've kind of last saw Star Trek in the 24th century. Like, what's the state of play? What's happening with the Cardassians, Romulans, you name it. And what I like as well is that if this is to be the new format for seasons to come, I want it to be like they're kind of presenting so far in the first episode, is this peeling of an onion. Like, we start in the most desolate, spot, like a glorified Icelandic moon. And over in time, we're going to maybe see what are things like on Earth? What's things like on Trill? Maybe next season we'll find out what life's like in the Romulan Empire all these years on. I think it's going to be really interesting because as much as fans, I would love to just know everything about this future. What happened? What's the state of play with every race that I've come to know and be real interested in? But I really like that the writers are like, well, this is our new playpen. Why rush things? Let's start in the kind of smallest possible sense and continue to build up from there and eventually go out into this universe and discover it. It's not what I want necessarily as a fan, but it's the right thing to do. And I'm excited. I'm glad it's in their hands and not me as an excited fan that would have just had 2 hours of them just going, right, here's a PowerPoint presentation about the entire Alpha and Beta quadrant and what's at the other side of the Gamma quadrant through the wormhole. Like, that's not television.
Yeah, it feels very much at these early stage breadcrumbs they're giving us, really. So there's the one line, the Gorn destroyed the subspace networks within 2 light years of here, and you're just like, whoa, what's happened here? And then you see the other bits where it's now the Orions and the Andorians working together, and you're just, part of you's thinking, are they allies? Has one been conquered by the other? What's going on there? So it's very much at this early stage, like, just giving you breadcrumbs of what the future is, and then also you're seeing the Federation, the ruins of the station right at the very end, and they revealed about the burn a lot earlier on in this series than I thought there'd be. I thought the burn would be one of those things to go, oh yeah, the burn, no one really knows, just everything stopped working one day. I thought it was going to be one of those things, but he just goes, oh yeah, the lithium crystals blew up, and it's just like, whoa, what's going on here? So yeah, the future and the advantage of the future, it just gives them such creative license, and they've already name checked things such as Temple Cold Wars and stuff like that, and gone, you can't have that anymore. So it's going to be fascinating, but I just think we're just going to get breadcrumbs for the next 12 weeks, or how many weeks there are.
I want to say, watching it, I was not a Star Trek fan in 1987 when the Next Generation came aboard, but I can imagine someone being a huge Star Trek fan watching Encounter at Farpoint for the first time, and things have changed. Things are different. It's like, well, I've got, someone said breadcrumbs. I think Lee said breadcrumbs, breadcrumbs of what you're used to, but then you've got so much that you don't know, and it's going to be an interesting journey. And I think it's going to be unique because we're going to be seeing it through the eyes of actual crew members and not like in this generation where, they're all used to it. And we're going to be learning with the Discovery crew. And I really like that.
Yeah, definitely.
I have to
Albert, Oh, go on, Maurice.
Go on, Maurice.
Sorry. I was just going to say, I have to echo with what Johnny said. It's really exciting that we get to find out what's been happening in that space with the crew. I think that's going to be really exciting.
Albert, what were you going to say?
Well, there's only one way to describe this particular future, is we have been given the same paints, the same colours, but we have a completely blank canvas. Everything, they can literally start again with this, and hopefully rebuild the Federation, maybe discover new things, create something new. And I think that's what's really exciting about this future aspect of where Discovery is going to go from here, is the fact that we literally are not, the only tie-in to the originals is Starfleet, is the Discovery. That is it. Everything else is brand new. Okay, it's Phoenix out of the ashes sort of brand new, but it's brand new nonetheless. And I think that pretty much, without echoing what anybody else says, that's pretty much what I reckon.
I quite like, I mean, one of the things I really like about this future is the idea that the burn has massively destabilized, the local region, and potentially, further afield as well. This idea that the first alien creature we see is Cosmo, who's actually Betelgeusian. So from Betelgeuse, which is a star that you can see in the night sky. So, the scope is, I mean, it's still big because interstellar travel is still possible, but it's smaller in respect that we might not see Denobulans. We might not see Klingons, although, I think we will. I think you can't have a Star Trek series without Klingons. But the idea being that, the scope is smaller, the stakes are still large. I don't want them to be galactic universal stakes that we had in season 2. I want some smaller stakes in season 3, really. And I think the show has really set itself up, because now we're dealing with this smaller region of space, and I'm quite excited to see where we can go. I mean, you guys have kind of mentioned the idea that we're going to have to reintroduce ourselves to a lot of alien civilizations. The Andorians and the Orions are working together. That's something that, Shran would absolutely be, rolling in his grave in his photon torpedo. But also other things as well. One of my predictions in my prediction video, what if the Vulcans and the Romulans have merged together again, or merged together? It's 900 plus years in the future. So much can change, and to put it into perspective, Burnham is coming from a time where the Federation is only 100 and 150 years old. So you look at that snapshot of time, and then you look at the time in which things have changed. I think it's going to be really fascinating to see. I will say that if the show stays in this time frame pretty much forever, then great. I don't want them to rush things too much. I'd like them to kind of try, because I think the thing is with Discovery season 2 for me is it kind of tried too much. It kind of threw a load of stuff at us, and it wasn't able to, in my opinion anyway, wrap it all up in a way that I found to be sensible and fulfilling. If Discovery Season 3 decides to keep its story beats fairly limited, keep them to a couple of things, maybe 3 or 4, then it's giving itself more potential to wrap itself up, to make more sense. And then it gets to kind of say, oh, I've got all this stuff in my back pocket. That Gorn reference, the Gorn hegemony, we might see him in Season 4, we might see him in Season 5, who knows? So I like the fact that we're getting throwaway lines, but I don't want to see everything yet, I guess, is probably what I'm saying. What do you guys think about that?
I think that's a really positive way to think about it, because I think as I kind of touched on earlier, I listened to a really good interview with a couple of the producers. They're on a fantastic podcast called All the Asians in Star Trek. And they were interviewing them, and they were talking about coming on post Brian Fuller. And obviously they spoke about, we are going to go to the future eventually. And with season 2, they were like, the end point of this season is the ship is going into the future. And they were like, okay, so if we're off into the future and we are never to see this time again, we need to kind of address the Spock issues. We need to go to kind of Saru's home planet. We need to do this, and this, have that time with our family. And they're sort of throwing a lot in, because they're almost like, well, we're never kind of coming back here. So anything that is on that wish list, it's now or kind of never. And I think that did overwhelm them a little bit. My feeling is this is going to be a much more kind of relaxed, slightly episodic kind of season, because now they can go into that traditional Star Trek what are we going to do this week? What are we going to explore that week? You know, with maybe just this theme running through the season without sort of trying to cram so much in. I think it has the potential to be really exciting and a much more relaxed season. And I think we got that in that first episode. It didn't feel like you watch some episodes of Discovery, there's so much going on. It's incredibly stimulating and it can be a little bit overwhelming. This felt like a solid 50 minutes of television with really engaging characters in that universe. And I expect whether that's going to be on Discovery or whatever in the coming episodes, it's going to be a really engaging and a slower paced show. And I think that's what Star Trek does really well.
Yeah, I would say I still think that Discovery's aesthetic is it's going to always be a fast-paced, action-packed show. I feel, and someone kind of mentioned in the comments that the pacing kind of matched Burnham's feelings in this episode, which I think is on the money. I think that it was at times a bit disoriented because, and we as viewers were disoriented as well because we were like, what is going on? What is all this stuff? So we were firmly in Burnham's shoes. What do you guys think about what Lee was saying in terms of having a more episodic feel? I don't think we're going to get it, but do you think that the show could potentially embrace telling, still have that overarching theme? The overarching theme is we need to rebuild the Federation, we need to find Discovery, we need to do all this kind of stuff. But do you think the show could embrace a more episodic feel? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I definitely feel that is where it's going to go because the first episode it gives you 3 bits of vital information. It gives you the fact that Burnham's alone, the Discovery hasn't shown up yet. Well, we don't know. We don't know if it's been destroyed, we don't know if it's shown up yet, temporal mechanics, all that. But we know there's something with Discovery. And we know that there is nothing. Something happened and the Federation went. Now, what that does is that gives you the opportunity to create the story arc, i.e. Burnham's and Discovery's story arc, which will run through the entire series. But also it gives you that little bit of space to have stories within the stories. And again, that's something that Trek has done very well in the past. But this will be the first time we really get it with a story arc as the main thing. I think actually, no, technically that's not true because Deep Space Nine did that, but I haven't fully watched that yet. So, which I will be. Don't worry, I'm working my way through it slowly, but I am. But yeah, but that's the thing. I think we'll get the story arc, and I think it's going to concentrate on once again Michael Burnham. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. But if episode 1's anything to go by, possibly a good thing. But we'll definitely get the episodic within the story arc each week. So it'll not be a continuing story as a whole, but you'll have the side stories as well to complement the story arc.
Well, let's use that as a good way to segue into let's talk about Burnham because I mean, sorry guys that don't like Burnham, but she's our main character and she is going to feature heavily because she's the main protagonist. And I mean, it made sense given the fact that she was taking Discovery through the wormhole at the end that she would come through first. This would be her story. You would be dealing with everything that she went through in the final episode of season 2, the loss of Spock, and by extension everything that she's known in her home time. She's completely out of her depth. She has to really kind of push herself on. Guys, what did we think about Burnham and also Sonequa Martin Green's performance in this episode? Who wants to lead us here?
I mean, I personally think this is the best Burnham episode we've had to date, really, in Discovery. In this one episode, she carried a lot more. She became a lot more of an interesting character. And Sonequa Martin Green, I always struggle with her name. All her acting in the scene where she's kind of being interrogated by the Andorians and the Orions, where she's just kind of suddenly going high and laughing her face off, and then it's even the dialogue they write at this time where she references Tilly and she goes, "Oh, I've got a friend with red hair. You do not want to give her this drug." And it's just those little lines that suddenly make Turner from this kind of cardboard cutout, half human, half Vulcan, almost android character into actually someone who you probably would see in real life. They've kind of begun fleshing her out into a lot more 3D. And although we're not talking about Book yet, her relationship and charisma with Book was, to me, a lot more convincing than her and Ash at all in the previous two series as well.
I think as well with the
No, go ahead.
I think with the character as well, I think she's going to similar to kind of the writers and where the plot can go. I think she's going to be liberated as well. I mean, you think what she's gone through in those first two seasons, you know, she started a war, the loss of her mentor, the trauma with Ash Tyler, and then into season 2, all the kind of family drama that she kind of experienced and went through. That's quite an ordeal. And, you know, we've sort of always seen sort of Michael Burnham as sort of this very kind of downtrodden kind of character. You know, she's not had any small victories. You know, they've been few and far between. And I'm excited to sort of see her in this future where she's liberated from that kind of the shackles of what she's kind of gone through before. And I think the writers are going to be able to explore something brand new with that. You know, she's not going to be she was sort of like an antagonist almost in that first season. And season 2, you know, family drama sometimes works in Star Trek, sometimes it doesn't. But in season 3, they can do whatever they want with this kind of character now. And she's not going to be someone that her tragedy is going to be sort of pushing the storyline. I think it's going to be something very interesting.
What were you going to say, Sorcerer?
I was just going to say one thing about this episode with Sonequa. When I said earlier, it looked like she's having the time of her life. She was on 3-4 seasons of The Walking Dead, which is this, you know, a drower show. Then she's on Star Trek, and she's the character with the most weight on her shoulder, so she's not getting to have a lot of fun. And as soon as that drug took effect, and I saw, I don't know, just some kind of look on her face, and I thought, this is going to be so much fun. And I just think even when the drug wore off, it just continued. I just think this is going to be a great moment, a great season for Michael Burnham, just to be able to expand beyond what her character was and to really grow and to hopefully find herself where she's not got the weight of the world on her shoulders for every little thing, and she can expand her character.
Maurice, what did you think about Burnham's development in this episode?
I think this episode was certainly her best episode. Especially, you know, I think my favorite scene, as everyone's, was when she got high, and that's really that really sort of let her hair down, and I hope we kind of see more of not so much, you know, her out of it, but more fun and, you know, not so serious, tough, you know, always getting knocked back. And yeah.
Albert, is there anything that you want to add to that?
Well, I think, to be fair, the best thing about this is we actually get to see Sonequa or Michael Burnham as a human being for the first time. I think she's been pseudo-Vulcan for the last 2 seasons, and we see that, okay, fair enough, she had to be drugged by the Andorians to get there, but we got there. Yes, agree with everybody else so far. Best performance throughout the entire. And there was the one moment in that scene with the drug where they fight. They get into the fights with the Andorians, and there's a look she gives. I think you know that. Yeah, I think there's a few that know the moment. She just looks at somebody, and it's just that moment where it's like, yes, we're here. We have the character. If she's, and the beautiful thing about that scene, and I think why everybody loves it, is because it was a comic relief in the episode, but it wasn't throwaway. It earned its place in that episode, and Sonequa's acting of that scene is what earned the place in that episode for me. And I think if she can do that for the rest of the season and into the future, I think Burnham will probably maybe raise in popularity a little bit.
Yeah, I would say that I don't. I mean, somebody in the chat, she seemed liberated even before the drugs. I would agree with this person because I think what
Yeah.
we saw, what we saw in season 2 was, I wouldn't say it's a soft reboot. I would just say the show was taking more steps to make Sonequa a more sympathetic character. We'd already seen a little bit of that in the latter stage of season 1 with the Ash Vok revelation. They definitely kind of pushed the pedal on making her a more human character towards the end of season 2. I still think that she does things that kind of make me go, don't do that. Like repeatedly punching Book. Like, stop punching the guy. He won't let you call your ship if you keep punching him in the face. Just stop doing it. But other things like the things that I liked about her was this. When she arrives, she gets rid of the suit, which we'll talk about in a second. She gets rid of the suit, and she has this moment of despair and confusion, and I'm lost, and I don't know where I am, and I've got nothing apart from a phaser, a ration pack, and a Delta shield, and what's she got to do? So she tells herself, stand up, walk, and it's quite a powerful message, that, because it's mind over matter. It's saying these things, because I do this in my life. Before I go on a run, I go, I'm gonna run, and I kind of say it and I repeat it almost and chant it, and it tells my brain and it programs my brain. So she does things that I can relate to, and I'm sure a lot of other people can relate to. The drug scene was it was funny. It was nice to have a little bit of comic relief inserted in. Some of the things that she said were hilarious. I will say that the people shooting at her, I mean, the aiming in this episode, the aiming in the future in general is shocking. I mean, stormtroopers must have looked at that footage and gone, all right, we're not so bad, guys. Don't worry about it. I wanted to quickly raise a potential issue. No, not an issue. A theory that I have. When Burnham gets out of the suit and programs the suit to travel through the wormhole, so she sets it to emit the red signal, but she also tells it to self-destruct. Now, I have a theory, and I want to know what you guys think. I think. Shut up, Alba. I think that. I think Burnham is responsible for the burn. I think that Burnham sending the suit through, something happens. Something goes wrong. And I think it burns out all of the dilithium. Guys, tell me I'm mad, or did you kind of get that could be something the show could do? And what do you feel about it?
Is it not one of those ones? Oh, sorry.
I'll let you go first, but you stole my thunder because I was going to say the exact same thing.
Well, you got to say it first. Please. Yeah, go on.
Please continue, Lee.
But was it not that sort of at the end of season 2 where kind of they detect the signal of like that burst had come back sort of through to the kind of time of sort of like Pike and everyone on their adventures that they detected in like the Beta Quadrant or something like that. So if it had that effect, it would have been in the past as opposed to sort of like 100 odd years or whatever before when these things went on. I don't think the timeline necessarily works.
But there's still the potential that radiation could travel through time. So you're still having, as the radiation or as some material passes through time, there could be. And another theory that I had, because I was thinking about that as well, is what if the suit takes back into the wormhole a piece of debris that was in that debris field that could have had an exit time in 150 years back in time that could have then caused that burn. So it is a theory hat. But
I do feel sorry for Michael Burnham here, because what's that? She's started a Klingon war, so there's like thousands upon thousands of death. Now she's destroyed all these ships potentially through the entire Star Trek universe. Like, is she gonna have killed more people by the Dominion by the end of sort of season 3 of Discovery? That could be something for the Memory Alpha books.
Well, it's kind of like it's the show. I mean, the detractors of the show will say that it's a Mary Sue thing, even though she's responsible for the murder of a load of people. Mary Sues aren't usually written like that. But yeah, people who like Burnham will go, can we just cut her? Can we just give her a break, please? But yeah, it's just a wild theory. I mean, I would say that it probably doesn't happen because I think the show is finally going to give her a break. But if it happens, guys, Me and Alba, we told you first. We told you first. Let's move on to an aspect of this first episode that I think we all really loved, and that is Book. Let's talk about Book. Who wants to share a little bit of love for our new resident character?
I like him. I genuinely really, really like this character. Usually it takes me an episode, 2 episodes to, invest in a character. But within the first 20 minutes of this episode, I was like, yeah, I like this guy. I like the character. He's not over the top. He's quite cool and collected. He can take a beating, and he's book smart. See what I did there? Yeah.
Book smart. I get it.
These are the jokes, folks. But yeah, definitely. I think if he's not a consistent character from here on in, I'd be very surprised, and I think it would be a shame if he isn't. But we still don't know a lot about him, but that's what makes him an investable character, is that there's that intrigue and that background to what he is and what the story is behind him. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this goes. And could there be a relationship with Burnham?
Well, we've
That's
seen
my theory for
Book. We've seen it already in the trailer. They kiss. There's a relationship there, and they're giving each other the kissy eyes when they're fighting. So they're fighting, and they're like, "Hey, wait, I quite like this person." What did everybody else think of Book?
I really enjoyed Book. I thought he was right when he first got on screen, his chemistry or his charisma was there. His chemistry with Sonequa was there. And I think Oliver mentioned something about Ash. I've never been a huge fan of that character, or especially the relationship with Burnham. I never bought into it. It was one of those characters like in the show, they keep bringing him back, and I'm like, why are we bringing this character back? And I just really like Book. And one thing I want to say for the writers that I really appreciate what they did for him. Whenever they gave away that he has a power, whatever it wasn't a life or death situation. It was just, Burnham had a little bit of a injury, and he, most of the time they reveal the powers when someone's almost at death's door, and they're like, "Oh, I've had this all this time." "Oh, you have," but now we know that he's got this. Just to, held a minor injury. So I thought that was a great way to introduce that he had, something special about him.
What do we make of Book's abilities as well? Because we kind of saw that his head kind of lights up. When I first saw that, I thought that was almost like some augmentation, potentially some transhumanist stuff where he's had technology inserted into his body. But then I kind of get the impression that it might just be a genetic thing, because they were talking about it. They were talking about the balance, weren't they, in terms of every so often someone like him's born. What do we think? Do we think that Star Trek is going to explore Book, or do we just think he's a human? An evolved human potentially? What do we think?
I think as Johnny kind of was saying, that it'll be interesting to sort of see this, because again, we've got no rush to kind of go through this kind of whole character, etc. I think it'll be interesting to see how he unfolds, what his relationship with Michael Burnham is, but also equally importantly, what his relationship is going to be with the other characters. I don't think he'll be a character in isolation. And what I liked most about the character is, I can't speak for you guys, but my expectation going into this season was that he was going to be sort of a Han Solo, slightly kind of roguish kind of character, up to kind of no good, but kind of got a good heart at the thing of it. And it almost, by the end of the episode, it felt like, no, this is a good guy out there in the universe that's making kind of good situations. Like, you have this idea, like, what has he stolen? What has he taken? Well, he's just like a humanitarian. He's like returning this animal to its own environment. And it sort of kills that expectation, and it goes, what you expected from this character is going to be something you didn't anticipate. And that's an exciting thing to go into, especially when everyone knew sort of, because of spoilers, etc., what Ash Tyler's twist was always going to be. With this, it's like, oh, this is something that it's not what I expected. So what is it going to be? And I like that. It's going to be interesting to explore that through the season and be genuinely surprised, I think.
I think the one thing with Book, and I kind of want to tie this into the Burnham and the future stuff. I think the only thing that didn't sit well with me this episode was the liberal vaporizing of people. We didn't really know who those people were that were chasing them. I was speculating it could have been a Ryan crime syndicate. So much for Tendy's kind of the Ryan syndicate is fine. We're cleaning ourselves up. Clearly not. But I didn't know. I mean, did those weapons not have a lower setting? I don't know. I don't know. It didn't really sit that well with me. And given the fact that Book has been established very, very early on as this caring, kind of edgy but caring humanitarian character that's out there to save trans worms, aka basically just space whales. It just didn't. I don't know, guys. It didn't sit well with me on that bit.
I have to agree with you. I was actually talking to someone about just the evaporating of people. It's overplayed. Where I was talking about, I really love the one thing about the showing Book's ability, but yeah, the evaporating, it's almost like just evaporating faceless enemies, is just an easy way. And it's almost reminded me of on The Last Jedi when they're trying to escape to the planet and all of the ships just keep getting destroyed and no one's really concerned that all these lives are being taken. And I kind of got that feeling, but I'll save that for my criticism.
They definitely deserve to have something happen to them. They were clearly shady, edgy people. Cosmos definitely deserved to get it. But to add to it as well, the kind of trans worm kind of then just munching on people, and then Burnham just kind of going, "Ha!" I was kind of like, "Come on, I didn't like it. I didn't like it, guys."
I think it's partially they may have just done that just to try and show how much darker this current setting is compared to the Federation's compared to the Federation. I think they just probably did that to draw like a contrast really between the two, because in Federation, obviously the Federation era, you probably wouldn't have seen that level of shooty stuff.
Surely that would have left Burnham horrified then.
I mean,
well, maybe she's still high.
And she consider what she's seen through all these kind of Klingon wars, and I think it's one of those things. I think it reclaims, like, we kind of look at what we've seen sort of in the Federation over, like, we're nearing 800 odd episodes. Like, the frontier has been tamed. Like, we are thousands of years into the future, 900 odd years. Like, it is a frontier again, and so on. Everyone's out for themselves. Like, there's not the protection of the sheriffs in town in terms of, like, Starfleet. So, it's shoot first, ask questions later. And I think we're going to see more of that as the season kind of goes on, about how this all works, who has access to being able to warp around the galaxy. I can imagine it's sort of, I think we could be seeing sort of like, similar to the Enterprise episode, that kind of Marauders style episode where you've got people kind of coming into town, taking resources, etc. I think it's going to be real interesting to see what this frontier is like again. And it's going to be interesting that Star Trek has that again. It is the Wild West. It is the wagon train to the stars.
Definitely, guys. Let's bring it back up for a second. Let's because I'm conscious that time is getting away from us. Right. Let's talk about very, very quickly this cat. All I want from you guys is just thumbs up. Do we like Grudge? Is Grudge the best cat in Star Trek now?
I'm allergic to cats, but thumbs up.
Oh, Maurice, what did you think?
Cats, but I like this cat. It's the queen, so you've got to love the cat.
Absolutely.
And it's on Facebook. Twitter. It's on Twitter.
Yeah.
The cat is on Twitter. I follow it. It's
She is on Twitter, and what a fine specimen, a Maine Coon. I now want a Maine Coon cat. Let's talk about the Federation, because the Federation forms. I mean, the Federation is Star Trek. The Federation is this protagonist organization, and to our dismay, I mean, we found out in the trailers that it had pretty much gone mostly kaput. But bookended, this episode is bookended with what I felt to be the real highlights of this episode. Focusing on this character. I'm going to get his name right. I'm going to read my notes. I'm not going to mispronounce his name. It's right down at the end. Why can I not find his name? Mr. Sahil. Mr. Sahil, he's been on this derelict for 40 years. I will say that for a derelict ship, being the fact that he's been there for 40 years, not a single speck of dust. I don't know who his cleaner is, but I want them. What did we think about the state of the Federation? What do we think about Mr. Sahil? And what did you guys think about the episode being bookended with these sequences?
I found it, well, for me, the ending scene was probably my favourite of the episodes in total. It's just the way that you have Sahil basically committing his life. How old is he? How many years did he say? 40 odd years. Sitting in that one room, just waiting for a glimmer of hope to restart everything again. It's kind of like almost one of the ultimate sacrifices an individual can make to the cause of that idea that I want his alarm clock. That he's choosing to wait. And just he believes in the ideal of the Federation. And then you get that entire scene where Burnham going back to him, no, you are now a commissioned officer. And you can almost see how part of the series is going to spread out from that, how you're going to get more and more people on board in different areas. And I just loved his commitment. It was great, but it's also heartbreaking when you think about it. It was very dual, but yeah, I loved him.
Did you guys get the feeling that the Federation, time has caused the Federation, the remnants of the Federation, it's almost like a religion at this point. It's transcended its organizational roots. It's now more of a kind of religion. The reason why I say this is I get this, I mean, massive faith. The themes of faith from earlier seasons has definitely been carried over. And I think Discovery at its core is a story of faith anyway. So I'm not, I think it's great that that's been brought in. But the way they were talking about it towards the end, the Federation and its kind of values and all that kind of stuff, it reminded me a lot, be interested to get your thoughts on this, guys, of the scene in The Force Awakens when Rey is talking with Han Solo about the events of the original trilogy. And he's like, it's real. All of it was real. All of it happened. Do you get the sense that the Federation has almost become this kind of mythic kind of organization?
I think they've been doing that really well in Discovery, where you always think of sort of some of the previous series, even series I love. Starfleet was about duty. And I think when you think of some of the highlights of Discovery so far, you think of that finale of season 1 where she's talking about we are Starfleet and what it is like to be part of that. And then you kind of follow that into season 2 with Pike. It's about sort of we leave no one behind. It becomes sort of a philosophy to wear the badge. It's not just about duty. It's like, what does it mean to be an officer? What does it mean to help out your fellow man, fellow alien? And I think they've really kind of been good at making Starfleet more of a philosophical kind of commitment as well as sort of a professional one. And I find that that's been one of my favorite things about Discovery. And with that bookend, I thought it was absolutely stunning. Probably up there with one of my, I know you get recency bias, but up there with one of my favorite scenes in Star Trek history. Just what it represented and that bit of hope, and it felt earned. Like, this is why you would want to be part of it, especially what we're going through just now in terms of the UK, America. Like, we want to be part of something greater, even in the darkness of all that we're kind of going through, we can believe in, like, there are people out there. We're just looking for that little bit of hope. We're looking for that Michael Burnham, that's someone to come through to make it feel like things are going to be better, things are going to be all right. And I just thought, like, that was a moment for our time, and so earned within the Star Trek Discovery mythology.
Definitely spoke to me a lot, those themes. The idea being that this future is one where everybody's just on their own. There is no collective unity. If you use the stick analogy, there's a lot of loose sticks on the floor at the moment that you could snap very easily. It's lacking some unity. Not Borg unity. We don't want that. Be interested to see what happens to those guys. But yeah, definitely. I mean, I said before the season started that there would be some kind of Brexit analogies, division analogies and stuff like that. And I think the show's well within their right to tackle those themes. And I think it makes sense given the future that we've seen. Johnny, Albert, Maurice, is there anything that you wanted to add to the Federation's state?
Yes.
Oh,
go on.
Go on, Johnny. Go on, Johnny.
Johnny.
Well, I was just going to say, the first scene when you first meet Mr. Sahil, did anyone get a Desmond from Lost season 2 kind of feel?
Yes.
When I think about that, that was the first thing that came to my mind. I'm like, okay, I don't know who this is. He's doing something regularly. You're just seeing that he's got the same thing he does every single day. And Desmond was the first thing on my mind. But I will say, I'm not going to say too much about the Federation because, as Michael knows, I've seen episode 2 already. So,
dude got in his pajamas and CBS gave him an early access invite. Jammy, get you, Sorcerer Johnny. Guys,
hey, one time I get something.
Guys, let's talk about Discovery. No sign of Discovery in this episode. My theory is that I think Discovery will be away for a few years. I think, and Sorcerer, poker face, please. Poker face, okay? I think that there's going to be a time jump of a few years. We need something to explain Sonequa Martin Green's new hair. Not just that, but I think that, the way she was hugging poker face, Johnny, poker face, the way she's hugging her colleagues, to kind of symbolize it kind of showed me that a lot of time had gone by. She really missed it. She's going to hug them anyway because she loves them. But what do we think is going to happen with Discovery? I'm assuming we're going to see them in the next episode. What do you guys think?
I'm going to join Sorcerer Johnny on the sidelines. I've seen the first 2 episodes. I got an invite to
Poker
that party
face Lee.
as well.
Poker face Lee.
So I'm saying nothing. I'll watch some Star Trek in the background. Just give me a holler.
Maurice, Alba, and Oliver, my fellow normies. What do you guys reckon?
Well, personally, it's going to be interesting to see how they do it because we obviously see the advanced technology on the space station with I can never say his name either, but so we see the space station, we see these wonderful holographic dynamic keyboards or whatever you want to call them. So it'd be interesting to see how Discovery sort of works its way and fits into this dynamic. The way when I was watching it and I was thinking, right, when are we going to see Discovery? And the thing that kept going through my mind was it's going to be kind of like bringing a Morris Minor to the Indy 500. Because this thing is so far dated.
But it's
going to be interesting to see how it...
Yeah. What if, though, the idea being that the burn wiped out a lot of technology, that Discovery isn't that far off the technology that they're using now? Appreciate that Book's ship was using, tactile stuff, but they've got all the dilithium. They've got all the...
Oh, sorry.
No, go on, Oliver.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, it reminds me, I don't know if anyone's seen it, but the show Andromeda, where basically the main principle of that was a ship from about 1,000 years in the past coming back to revive the...
Yeah, I'd never heard of that show before today. I'd never heard of that show.
I keep trying to watch that and I keep failing.
It's
I don't know why. I just can't.
It's in my opinion, I don't think it's very good. And everybody kind of going, "Oh, Discovery season 3 is an Andromeda rip-off." It's like, well, it's a Gene Roddenberry creation. So, if they're going to remake it and make it better, I'm kind of all for that. Guys, let's talk about this season. I would like from each of you to give me one thing that you would like to see Discovery season 3 do, and I would like to hear one thing that you would like to see Discovery stay away from. And Maurice, I want to start with you.
Oh God, really on the spot there. I thought I was going to go last. What I really want them to stay away from is for at least a while is any more time travel. No more of that. We've gone 900 years, so okay, well done. What I hope they continue to do is sort of restarting the Federation, sort of kind of like how I thought maybe the Enterprise would have done it, seeing the founding of a new Federation. I think that would be interesting to see.
It'd be nice to kind of see that, because that's one of the bugbears from Enterprise, that you never really saw it. You just saw some kind of CGI, 2005 CGI kind of walk over. Sorcerer Johnny, same question to you. What do you want to see Discovery Season 3 do? What do you not want to see Discovery Season 3 do?
One thing I would love for season 3 to do is develop the bridge crew even more. I think season 2 did a little bit better with that. I want a Detmeyer episode. I'm sorry. I think she's underused, and I just want more Detmeyer. I put a tweet out. I need more Detmar in my life today, and a lot of people agreed with that. What I don't want to do, I don't want Discovery to, how can I put it, go back to past mistakes of being almost a dour show at times. I hope, even though I look at Superman is an optimistic character. He fights for truth, justice, the American way, all that stuff. Even whenever it's a bad situation, you can still count on Superman. And that's what I want the Discovery crew to be. I don't want them to be just a dour kind of crew, like all hope is lost. I want them to keep that optimism, and I just want to feel that positivity throughout this season.
Lee, same question to you, buddy.
I think for me this season, it's similar to what Johnny was saying. I would like to see sort of the crew developed. I want to see the crew similar to what we got at times with Deep Space Nine. What do they do in their downtime? What do they do when they're sort of, going along? Not, obviously there's no holodecks, but just I want to see a bit more of that time when the uniforms are maybe done a little bit looser. I think some of people's favorite moments from, say, the first season, the party, for example, I would just love a little bit more moments like that, sat around a conference table, just with chatting. For me, my request for the season is a little bit different. I would just like stability behind the scenes. I know this is our third different showrunner now. We've got Michelle Paradise, and I think she speaks incredibly well. I'm really excited to see where Discovery goes under her leadership. So I'm hoping we're going to get a bit of continuity behind the scenes now. And similar to what we always got with other Star Trek shows, season 3 came alive with Deep Space Nine when Ira Stephen Bear, Ronald D. Moore kind of really took the reins. Season 3 of Enterprise with Michael Piller, etc. Voyager a little bit different, but with someone like Brandon Braga coming in and taking the lead about season 4. So I want that continuity, because I think Star Trek shows, when that happens, that's when we get the best work.
Very
Can I
well
say,
put.
is this not the first Discovery season with one showrunner without any behind the scenes, at least publicly behind the scenes issues?
Isn't Alex Kurtzman and Michelle Paradise co-showrunners?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the first one had Brian Fuller, then he got fired, then they brought in the other two people, and then they were doing season 2, and then all these reports of abuse happened, and then they got let go.
And then Michelle Paradise, and then
right. So I haven't heard anything, and the season's done. So I think this may be our first Discovery season with no drama behind the scenes.
She's obviously, I know you touched on it earlier, you hadn't seen the news, but the little YouTube video of Sadiqa Martin Green, Alex Kurtzman, Doug Jones, and Michelle Paradise are the team sort of announcing the news of season 4. So we'll take it. If she's in the YouTube video, she survived the season. So come on, my wish has come true. There we go. I've asked for something that's happened already.
There we go. Amazing. Very well put, Lee. Thank you very much. Oliver, same question to you, buddy.
Well, echoing sentiments already, more fleshed out characters. It's just having, they started the process with Michael, but let's do it with, Tilly. Let's do it with Stamets. Let's just have these characters more human, just make them more real and believable. That's what I want them to build on in this series. And then for the thing that I don't want them to do, we've seen Morn's species already in this episode. They can't let them talk at all. You've got to keep them quiet. That is like, the line must be drawn there, this far, no further. Morns must be quiet.
Yeah, no speak from the Lurians, please. Alba, finally to you. What do you want to see? What do you not want to see?
Well, first of all, what I want to see is them take the ball of creating the Federation and run with it. Within that, you'll get the character development, because each one of the characters within Discovery can bring something to this Federation, this new Federation, and we'll get an opportunity to see those values develop in real time. We've already had the values, but they've already been well established when we've seen them in previous series. Here's an opportunity to see how these values work in a raw, untamed environment, and I'm really wanting them to take that and run with it. What I don't want to see is them going back to what went before, tying in with the past. This is an opportunity to separate and for Discovery to go and spread its wings. So no going back to Pike, no going, I've heard stories of crossovers with Picard. No, nothing. Just let this thing go and fly on its own. Pardon the pun. But that's what I don't want to see.
I would probably just say that's you kind of hit the nail on the head. The only thing I don't want to see is I want Discovery to be its own thing. I want Discovery to, I think the one thing I'm a little bit worried about at the moment is we keep talking about bringing old characters back. I do not, as much as I love Cisco, I do not want to see them drag Avery Brooks out of retirement and force him to do 10 episodes of Star Trek. He's done it already, and just enjoy those episodes. I don't want to see it. Let's embrace and let's take into our hearts these new characters. Let's just do that. Let's go with it. Very, very well put, gentlemen. We're pretty much out of time. We squeezed some good chat in. Before we do go, though, I'm going to chuck a load of information at you. I'm going to go around the room. I would like you to surmise That Hope Is You, give it a 5-star rating, and also tell everybody where you can be found on the internet. Oliver, let's start off with you.
Summarize it. Burnham in future walks around Iceland that looks like a planet. Meets a cool guy, and there's some alien fisticuffs in a shop. Rating probably 3.75. And then if you want to find me, I'm on Twitter at Oliver Brooks.
There we go. Awesome. When I said surmise, I mean surmise your feelings of the episode. But Oliver, you set us off perfectly. Sorcerer Johnny, you're up next.
All right. Summarize. I think this is a great, another soft reboot for this show, but I think it's the perfect opportunity for new adventures, and new being the key word, not, just a new script, but an actual new adventure, something new on that. I'd give it a 4 out of 5. I think, there's always some, issues. You can nitpick almost anything, and I had a few little nitpicks, but overall I just had a wonderful time watching it.
Alba. Oh, sorry, Sorcerer
Yes.
Johnny, where can you be found?
Oh yes, I'm on Twitter at Zoidberg95 from the Futurama character.
Oh, there we go. Alba, back to you. Thoughts, rating, and where can you be found?
Well, my thoughts is a brilliant start. Great start. But to use a dart analogy, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. So I reserve judgment until the end of the season. 4 out of 5.
Ex-wife.
Pure. Yeah. What, the 4 out of the 5? Or right, okay. So 4 out of 5, pure and simply because there is still the old Burnham in there a little bit. There's little bits of old Burnham which is fundamental to the character, but unfortunately it's not something I like about her. So a 4 out of 5 in that respect. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to find me, you can find me right there at Alba Android on Twitter. And you can also find or speak to me via Spock the Week as well. Shameless plug.
There we go. Perfect. Always a pleasure, Alba. Thank you very much. Maurice, same bits and pieces to you, sir. Overall thoughts, rating, and where can you be found on the socials?
I thought it was a beautiful introduction to season 3. I hope that at the end of each episode, it leaves me feeling sad that I have to wait another week to see the next one. So I would give this episode rating a 4 out of 5. And you can find me on Twitter at m_urban89.
Awesome. And finally, Lee.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think it's always difficult to rate the first of a two-parter. I think the 2 episodes are going to complement each other well, would be my feeling. So I would give it a 3.5 at the moment, but that's not to say that it wouldn't go up at the end when it's sort of viewed as a two-parter, as it were. So that's a slight cheat there, but that's what I'm going to go with. But no, I'm really excited for the future of Star Trek Discovery in front of and behind the camera. I think it's an exciting time to be a Star Trek fan right now. I mean, we've had Picard this year, Lower Decks. It's been a tough year for everyone around the world, and I think it's nice that we've got a bit of hope again, and we've got weekly Star Trek in our lives, and I'm going to take that victory. So yeah, I'm excited. It's a 3.5, but it feels like a 5 right now to be a fan.
Cool. And finally, where can you be found, buddy?
Oh yes, everyone seems to forget that one. You can find me on Twitter at Star Trek VHS or at Lee Hutchison _.
Perfect. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me for this week's episode. And Alba, thank you for bringing the bus. I do expect to see that you actually on a bus by the season's finale, I'm sure. Well, I want to quickly just surmise my thoughts on the episode before we do go. Discovery is back, and it's back in a way that I think makes it accessible to people who are watching this for the first time. I think that's something that we didn't discuss at all. Discovery, this episode is an episode that any newcomers to the franchise can pick up, and I think that makes it great. I really like the new location. It's Discovery's aesthetic is always going to stay the same. It's never really going to change. It's a fast-paced show, kind of shoot first, ask questions later, but there is thought behind it. Bookended with some absolutely fantastic scenes featuring the remnants of the Federation. Book was fantastic. I like Cat, so I'm a little bit biased there. But for me, Discovery is very difficult to rate. I know this is technically a 2-parter, but I see Discovery as being a 13-parter. For that reason, and also given the fact my concerns earlier, the kind of people getting eaten and vaporized and people not really caring, it is a bit mean at times. But I still feel like this is upper echelon Discovery, and I really feel that in its new setting, there is a lot of potential here. I'm giving it a 3 out of 5. Thank you guys once again for joining me. You have been tremendous. You can find me at Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at TrekLad. Don't forget to also consider becoming a fan on Patreon, or if you want to become a fan, go to patreon.com/TrekLad. We will do this every Friday, 9 p.m., 4 in the East. We've got 5 more amazing guests, but I'm sure you are going to see these beautiful people at some point over the course of the next 13 weeks. I love you all. Thank you very much for joining. And until the next time, guys, stay happy, stay safe, stay well, and live long and prosper.